Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I thought I'd do something a bit different this time and do a bit of an informal video, as I've been getting a lot of questions about this particular tank. So I thought I'd address some of those common questions I get. First of all, sorry about the crappy sound quality. I've got a bit of hay fever at the moment and this room is quite echoey. But I thought I'd start with the actual tank itself. So when initially designing this tank, I wanted something that could act as a bit of a room divider between the two, as we have the lounge over on the left hand side and then we have our table and chairs on the right hand side. I wanted it like this as we were able to view it from 3 different angles, and it just makes the room look a lot more open. I also wanted something with shelves underneath it, so it kind of incorporates a bit of storage into the tank itself. So you can see down here. When doing this, I also put some lights up on the underside of it in here. So I have this cool little remote control that I can press and it turns the lights on and off. This looks really cool at night. It's a bit of ambient lighting, which my wife loves. She's all about ambient lighting. And I've got a collection of my favourite sort of coral books and magazines down here as well. The cabinet itself is made from extruded aluminium, and it's clad in a 13 mil marine ply. It's also covered in an epoxy enamel, so any water that gets on there, I'm able to wipe it off quite quickly. I think I'll go over the tank inhabitants as well. So as for the tank inhabitants, first of all, you can see I've got a blue tang and a fox face in there. This has caused quite a lot of controversy online, as a lot of you have been saying that the tank is far too small for these fish. First of all, I agree. When fully grown, these fish need a much larger tank. However, when they're juveniles like this, you can see that they've got heaps and heaps of room to swim around in. Compared to a lot of larger tanks with fully grown tanks, they actually have a lot more room than what other tanks normally have. So the idea is that once these guys sort of grow up, I'll eventually put them into our big 6-foot tanks that we have at the university. But until then, as you can see, they've got lots of room to swim around. They're fat, healthy, nice and colourful. They've got all their favourite little holes that they love to hide in as well. So as well as the tangs, you can see I've got 5 green and blue chromis. These fish have actually been really great. I know that normally it can be quite tricky to keep them in groups, as they'll sort of slowly be picked off by one another. But honestly, I think I just got lucky with these guys, and I must have got like a batch of all females or something like that, or maybe even just one male. But I think also too, my feeding regime really helps keeping them nice and healthy. When I got them, they were really small, and as you can see, they're sort of fully grown now. Apart from these, I've got Coral Beauty. I absolutely love this guy. I think he's really pretty. I think he might be like a dwarf Coral Beauty or something, because he's kind of been the same size for the past 2 years that I've had him. This red one right here, that's Roger. That's a flame hawk. He is my wife's favourite fish. Often we'll be sitting on the lounge just here, or sitting on the chairs watching TV, and he'll perch himself wherever he possibly can in the tank to sit there and watch us, and he'll just literally follow us around the house the entire time. I've also got 2 clowns. I'm pretty sure they're 2 different species. I'm pretty sure one's an Ocellaris and one's a peculiar clown. However, despite this, they have seemed to have formed a bit of a pair. So I'll be interested to see whether they actually can breed later on. These are 2 of my other favourite fish as well, up in here. Sorry, this gimbal's giving me grief. These other 2 fish, so the coral gobies, they are some of my favourites as well. They're constantly breeding and laying eggs in there. I think they're really cool. They can live in families of quite a few, so I'm thinking about maybe getting a few more later on. But for now, they get on quite well with each other. I've also got this coral banded shrimp just underneath there. He seems to like living in there. Well, sorry, it's a she. So I actually had 2 of them, and they would constantly lay eggs and they'd get on really well. And then all of a sudden one day the female just decided she didn't like the male and tried killing him. So he is now in the tank at the uni, and he's doing well, so that's why she is on her own. I also have this Bangai cardinal. So this Bangai cardinal right here is one that I actually raised from a little baby. I had a pair of them. And they laid eggs, or sorry, they had babies, sorry, they don't lay eggs. And when they were born, he was absolutely tiny, and he was hiding in my Seriatopora. So I was able to catch him out and feed him all sorts of live food until he eventually grew up. So he's one of my favourites as well, as I've had him since he was pretty much born. I've also got some striped cardinal fish in here as well. They're just kind of tank fodder. They don't do too much, but they do try and breed as well. So the male will often have eggs in his mouth. I've also got this little damselfish here. I like to keep individual little damsels as they don't get too aggressive when they're just on their own. I've also got this 6-line wrasse, which you'll see darting around as well. I really like them as they help to keep a lot of the parasites at bay in the tank. And I haven't really ever had any issues with him jumping out. Like, I don't think I've actually ever had any fish jump out of this tank. I did in my previous tank, which was a bit shallower. But I think just a combination of the surface agitation and the height really helps with this. As you can see, I've also got this red line cleaner shrimp. If you've seen in any of my other videos, he actually loves to clean me, so whenever I put my hand in the tank, he'll always come and try and eat whatever's left on my hands. As for cleanup crew, I've got a bunch of big snails. Where are they? Up in here. I've also got a bunch of collector urchins, which you can see over in the corner there. However, one issue I'm having is that a lot of my snails and urchins are actually getting too big, so they actually can't get into a lot of these smaller places and crevices. So I'm actually hoping that I can get some little baby urchins later on, and that'll help a lot with that. Additionally, I've also got a bunch of strom snails scattered around the tank, as you can see just down here. I think I've got about 5 or 6 of them, and they do a great job at keeping all the sand turned over. I also have a bunch of spaghetti worms in the sand as well, which they're a bit hard to see now. As well as these, sorry, I also forgot to mention that I have a shrimp and goby pair. These guys live down in there. They don't really like to come out too much. I'll give them a feed now, because hopefully they might show their heads. But this is why I also like to feed large amounts, as it sort of gives them a chance to get fed before all the other fish eat all the food. So if they decide to come out, you can see him rear his head. I don't think he's going to come out. But anyway, apart from the fish and cleanup crew, so I'll go over the corals I have as well. So the way I've tried to aquascape the tank, it's really difficult having a high density mixed reef tank, because a lot of corals will sting each other. So I've tried to kind of group them as much as possible. So you can see down here I've got all my gonioporas down there. They can kind of be a bit closer to one another as they won't sting each other. And then up on the top is where I've sort of got most of my acroporas, and then seriatoporas down the side. Montiporas are really quite dynamic in what sort of light requirements they have. So as you can see, I've got some down there, they're a bit more shaded, and I've got some up the back which get a bit more light. I've also got some Montipora as well, there and there. I don't really care too much about that. It's a bit of a weed, to be honest. It just grows and kills everything, so I'm constantly trimming it. I've got this rock with Christmas tree worms there. Maybe a little bit hard to see. And there's a bunch of zoas on that as well. I've also got some clams in the tank. Most of these corals and clams are actually from Monsoon Aquatics up in Queensland. I got this clam here when it was absolutely tiny. It was probably maybe about 40 mil, maybe that. And as you can see, it's grown quite big now, and its colours are just amazing. I also love this Lobophilia right here. This is one of my favourites. I've had this one for probably close to 5 or 6 years now. I've also got a bunch of Possilopera around the tank. I really like Possilopera. It just grows really easily, and you just sort of cut bits off when it grows too much. I've got a bunch of hammers here. This is my hammer garden. They seem to just tick along fine. They don't really require much maintenance. I've got a bunch of torches up the back here as well. These are actually from a tank that was closed down. So they're actually looking a lot better than they were when I first got them. Same with this Lobo here. That wasn't looking too good when I got it, but I don't know whether that'll survive or not. But yeah, apart from that, that's kind of all the coral in the tank. I just did a video as well recently on me trimming back a lot of the coral. I probably have to go through and trim it maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks just because of how much it grows. This is also due partly to the amount of light I'm running as well. So as you can see, I've got 2 blades and 2 hydras. I absolutely love aqua illumination. I think just their app is so easy to use, especially combined with the wave makers as well. But the lights, like the UVs, do go out a fair bit on them, but I'm not overly concerned about the UVs. UV doesn't actually provide really much towards the coral. If anything, UV definitely does bring out the colours, but that's actually just due to stress. So when corals receive UV light, they will actually produce chromoproteins, and these chromoproteins actually aid in protecting the zooxanthellae from that UV light. So corals can actually live really quite happily without any UV, but just your coloration will suffer a bit, which I don't really mind as I'm sort of going for that more natural look anyway. Apart from the lights, so with the lights as well, I really love the blades because they give quite a good spread. I've actually tried to spread the blades out even more. I put a few more holes up there, just to try and get that bit of extra width as well. As for flow, so I'm running 2 Neros and 1 orbit. I absolutely love the orbit. Sorry, I've set it so the water flow actually goes up over the tank and down, so that kind of generates a big pattern like that. And then these Neros on either side are actually set to pulse. So what they'll do is they'll pulse back and forwards, and that sort of creates that sort of turbulence or that sort of waving kind of wave motion, as you can see here with the hammers. I've also been getting a lot of questions about the sump system as well, so I'll give you a quick rundown of that. It's not something I'm overly proud of, as it doesn't actually look that pretty, but I'll start. So basically I have everything coming into my roller mat in there. I absolutely love this. I think this plays a big part in how clear the water is. I love how in the bottom of it, it's actually got a compartment for carbon that sits underneath. So I replace that maybe once every 1 to 2 months. And the filter rolls themselves probably last probably close to 2 months as well. So it's just kind of a set and forget sort of thing, which I absolutely love. Second, I actually have this cheap skimmer. I think it's just an Aqua XL. It does a great job. I'm not overly fussed about how efficient it is, because it also does another job. It helps to keep my pH high. So as you can see in the corner here, I've got some CO2 scrubbing media. So the air line actually runs into that, so that helps to keep my pH up at night. And then I also have just a generic Aqua One return pump. As for heating and chilling, I use this old TK1000 chiller. That actually acts as a heater and a chiller, so it does two jobs. I use this reef doser. Absolutely love it. It's really reliable. Same with my Reef ATO. I really like that because I can log in and check the temperature as well when I'm away on field work. And that's my RO reservoir up the back. I also 3D printed some little shelves as well, so this is where I keep all my tools. I keep all my little trace elements, all my bits of glue, Aptasia X, stuff like that, all just little nibbly things that I use like occasionally. I use this dosing station, so I use Quantum, I use Aragonite A, B and C, and I also have this here, BioEnhance. I occasionally put in some little Phyto, and I just have a few like little pellets here and there as well. As you can see, so up here, this is the frame of it. So this probably is a bit of better representation. So you can see it's just like an extruded aluminium just with a marine ply on the underside. I also ran the light strip in here as well, so it gives me a bit of light at night if I'm like trying to stuff around and do stuff. I've been trialing out this little controller as well recently. It's from Cactotili. As you can see here, it gives pH, salinity, specific gravity, and temperature. The temperature and pH are actually really accurate. And I've been loving the pH as I'm able to tell when it's time to change out my CO2 scrubbing media. But generally my tank sits at about 7.9 to 8.4, which is actually really good considering I'm in an apartment and it closes up pretty well at night. So another question I get about this tank quite a lot is, do I actually run blue lights on the tank? And the answer is yes. So the light schedule that I'm running at the moment is actually purely just for filming. And especially when I have friends over as well, I'll actually turn it to this spectrum. It's not that great for corals and it's not that great for algae either, as you do get a lot more algae growth, but it's a lot easier to look at. And when we've got aquariums like this and we've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, we want it to look as appealing as possible. No one likes coming in and looking at an oversaturated blue tank. And I think that's partly why my videos have done so well on Instagram. It's just because it's really quite different to a lot of the other content out there. But in saying that, I'll show you what the tank actually looks like with my normal growth spectrum. So again, using the AI app, really easy to use. So I'll change the lights back to how I normally have it. Yeah, so this is how the tank normally looks. So as you can see, it's a lot bluer. It's still actually quite light compared to a lot of other spectrums out there, but definitely not as nice to look at. But yeah, I'll go ahead and change that back. But yeah, that's why, yeah, but see with this up, literally just go in, select preset, photos, and do the same again with this. Select preset, and we're done. Yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope I was able to answer some of the questions that I get a lot. And if you want to stay updated with any of my other projects I have, such as the upside down reef tank, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing some more videos very shortly. Thank you.